After quite a lot of waiting and hundreds of questions of when the Zabbix 7.0 will be released, we can finally say it is released. It was released yesterday, and it comes packed with a lot of the great features. It is LTS version. It's just amazing, which means that it is time to go through all the goodies that are inside of the version of the Zabbix 7.0. So let's jump straight into. And on the screen, as per usual, we have the what's new in a Zabbix 7.0 LTS. And there's still a webinar, like I will release the video right today, so you still have a time to sign up for this and hear about all the goodies from different source. There is the release node, and this will actually show you how big is the new release, because the feature list and the fixes and improvements is just never ending long, right? And I believe it would not be possible to talk everything inside this list, because let's try to focus on all the big features, the big oh my god, it's really like infinite. Come on, is there an end? Yes, there is. So let's focus on the big features. And the big features start with the synthetic end user web monitoring. By the way, the video is already recorded. I'm not sure when it's going to be released, this week or maybe next week, so click subscribe on this channel if you want to learn more in-depth technical stuff about all of the features in the Zabbix 7.0. But long story short, Zabbix had a web monitoring for quite a while, I think since the version 3.0, but it was basically using the curl, which had its own limitations, like you were not able to monitor anything that's even close to the JavaScript. You were able to see like response time and check for some string in the website, but more or less that's it. However, with the new monitoring, it's basically like Selenium, so you can create all sort of different checks. You can write your own scripts, like even capture the screenshots of the current website state, collect and visualize website performance and availability metrics, extract and monitor any data from your web application. Good thing, the setup is, I don't know, it's something like 5 minutes. You may want to use Docker or a Podman to install the Selenium from the containers. It's going to be easier. And then it's just changing two parameters in the Zabbix server config file. First of all, specify the URL of your Selenium, and the second thing, starting the pollers that will actually do the job. In the front end, in a 7.0 front end, if not just pick the recent templates from the Git, you'll find also the default template, which allows you to easily monitor any website. The only thing that you need to change is just the domain name, which you want to monitor. Proxy high availability and load balancing. I think this was requested for quite a long, and implementation is really great. It's the best thing that I like in the recent Zabbix version is that the new features, they're easy. It's not like you need to write script here, add something there, download these dependencies, compile something, fill in configuration files. Everything is easy right from the front end. And basically the main thing that you need to know is that how it was working previously. You install the proxy, no matter is it virtual machine, hardware, whatever, you add a proxy to the front end, then you assign the host to be monitored by this proxy. That's it. But what's the problem? If something happens with a proxy or with a hardware where the proxy is running, you basically lose the monitoring of those end sources, because there's just one proxy, right? And there's nothing you can do with it. There were attempts to configure like customized high availability on the proxies, which it works, but it's one of those complicated solutions to the problems. And the easy solution to the problem is in a Zabbix 7.0, where right now, instead of defining a single proxy that monitors hundreds of the servers, you actually create a proxy group. So you can install, like, let's say, 5 proxies on different servers in different locations, different networks, whatever. Define that these 5 proxies are one group. And then instead of assigning all of the hosts to individual proxies, you assigned it to the group of the proxies. And basically that's it. Everything else happens in the background. So Zabbix will be responsible to automatically load balance all the traffic between the proxy nodes. And like if something will happen with one proxy or 2 proxy or 3 or whatever, all of the traffic from the agents will be distributed to currently available proxy servers. So seamless scale your Zabbix environment by deploying additional proxies. And what's very important, like Zabbix is free, so there are no limitations on the number of the proxies or proxy groups, which makes them unlimited. And don't forget that the proxies are a very good option to actually scale your monitoring and improve the performance of the Zabbix server, because it's much more beneficial to put all the load on the proxies and use the server only for the trigger processing and basically visualization. Faster and more efficient Zabbix proxies. Remember also previously, like, you had only one option. You can store the data in the database. When the data is being stored there, well, as soon as you receive it. And also, like, if the proxy is not able to transmit the data to the Zabbix server, then it is stored locally in the database until that is possible. But it was fine like a couple of years ago, but let's be real right now, like databases are getting heavier and heavier. SQLite is, I don't really prefer that because of the performance limitations. Like, it's not good for a large scale proxy installation. If you want to install the MySQL 8, it's going to take huge amount of the resources. Well, not like for the server, but if we're talking about the proxies, it could be running on some embedded devices, edge computing and whatever. So those take a lot of resources, and now there is an option to get rid of that problem. Like, you can choose between the disk mode, which basically is the same as it was previously, so everything is stored in the database. You can also do the memory mode, which means that the database is skipped at all. All the history is stored in memory of the Zabbix proxy server. It is trying to transmit everything to the Zabbix server. You can also, of course, define like how big the memory will be and what's the limitation when it will start to drop the history. And you can also go for the hybrid mode. So it will write both in the database and in the memory itself, which adds, again, a great advantage for the proxy performance and adds this ability to install the proxies on very limited resource devices like Raspberry Pi. Previously, like if you had the most recent version of the Raspberry, I guess it could be fine for some limited size of the proxy, but if those were old ones, then it was a bit challenging to even run all of the required resources, where the big part is exactly on a database and not talking even about the monitoring. Improve data collection and speed and scalability. So previously, how it was working, like you have one poller, let's say, that is responsible to collect the data. Poller requests the data, poller waits for data to be retrieved, only then it starts to monitor the next data, which is called the synchronous data collection. And right now, for agent, SNMP, and HTTP checks, Zabbix works as asynchronous data collection mode, which basically means that, let's say, if this data collector is one single process of the Zabbix, like a poller, it will initiate the request of the metrics on multiple items, like request item 1, request item 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, and not wait for the response until it will start to request the next item. And then the data just starts to come in, and data comes in, you make more requests, which essentially makes the performance much faster and just much better results. So next metric can now be polled before the waiting for a response time from previously requested metric. Support of up to 1,000 concurrent checks per poller process, which means that you can simultaneously request the data from 1,000 items until before waiting the actual response of the data, which is great. It's not yet available in all of the item types. As I said, it's agent, SNMP, and HTTP checks, but I guess that is something that we can expect for the future. Centralized control of the data collection and timeouts. And the timeouts were always like a pretty big problem for real production installations. You know that there is a timeout defined in each of the Zabbix component, like the server, proxy, agent, Java gateway, whatever. And the minimal value, I think, was 3. The maximal value is 30 seconds, which having increased timeout like on everything for 30 seconds is not a good idea, which basically means that all of the data collectors on the slow items, there will be just waiting for up to 30 seconds to receive the data. Yes, you receive the data in the end, so you might think this is good, but the bad part here is that the data collector was just tallying for the 30 seconds. And right now you have much wider flexibility to actually define that, because Some items work fast, and that's good. Some items work slow, especially if you have some customized checks that are running some scripts, whatever. It is expected that they will run for 20 seconds, 25 seconds, but it doesn't mean that you need to enable this timeout setting for all of your monitoring in all of your servers. So right now you can define the individual item level timeouts, override timeouts on a proxy level, and timeouts are now fully configurable in the Zabbix graphic user interface or using the Zabbix API. So previously it was available only through the configuration file, and let's say if we're talking about the agent or proxy, and if let's say you are offering the monitoring as a service to your customers, it might not be such an easy thing to actually log into the server and change some configuration parameters, and don't forget to restart the service for those to actually take effect. New ways to visualize your data. So Zabbix continues to improve the visualization, and right now we have these new widgets like this. This is very pretty. Honeycomb widget. I think it's one of the prettiest widgets right now you can find in a Zabbix. Pie chart and a pie chart donut. So different ways how you can again visualize your data. Major network discovery speed improvements. Again, similar to asynchronous data collection previously. Let's say if you defined network discovery on a subnet 24, it means that one network discover process will take over this rule and basically check each IP one by one. So right now the network discovery supports the concurrent checks within a network discovery rule. Support of concurrency enables major network discovery speed improvements, and network discovery errors are now displayed in the front end, which will also help you for the troubleshooting of some issues that you might have. And it does improve speed a lot. Like, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's literally a lot, because previously, like, if you have, let's say, the subnet 24 and you are checking for like 10 different checks on each of the IP address that actually replies with something, it's going to take something around like 2 or 3 seconds for each check that you have. So imagine if you have 10 checks, it's going to be half of the minute for each discovered IP address. So multiply with 254, it's going to be a lot. And if you have even larger subnets, it definitely takes some time, which always was confusing whenever you're just setting up the network discovery and configuring the actions to define what exactly you want to do with those discovered hosts, and you make the changes and then you just need to wait for quite a long time to see what actually happens. Dynamic dashboard widget navigation, which is again a great advantage for the visualization. Like, a new communication framework has been introduced for the dashboard widgets, enabling communication between the widgets. So a widget can behave as a data source for other widgets. As you can see here, we can zoom in. So whenever you hover the mouse on one of the nodes of the honeycomb, as you can see, the data in all of the other widgets is changing as well. So instead of hundreds of clicks in the front end, like, okay, what's this host, what this data, whatever, let's change this widget, let's change configuration of this widget, and so on. Right now you can do everything just using your mouse and get like a full insight about infrastructure or service or some application to which this dashboard was created. So you can also build a custom interactive Zabbix dashboard for your own use case. MFA authentication, very simple. I've made a video about this like a month ago, and this was also a very requested feature security-wise. Like nowadays, I think especially everybody need to worry about the security and make sure that no one will hack you, and MFA is definitely a way to go. So just a couple of parameters and enable the MFA on in your web browser, and then you can scan the QR code with any authenticator app that you might know, like the Microsoft or any else, and then it works as per usual, like as any other resource. Whenever you're logging into the Zabbix frontend, you'll fill in your username and password, then it will ask for OTP, so you grab your phone, check the OTP code, fill inside the verification code, and then you can get logged on your system. More flexible resource discovery and management. So this is improvement for LLDs. I guess you already know, like whenever you were using LLDs, it was always if not a problem, then at least an inconvenience. So whenever you're discovering something, let's say you discovered 100 entities, and for each of those you created some item trigger or whatever, and when something is getting lost, the item becomes not supported. So obviously, right, it will be deleted after some time period that you define, but the bad thing was that Zabbix will continue to monitor this item. And what's the point to monitor something that we know is not running? So right now you can define the additional configuration if you want to delete the lost resources, or if, let's say, you want to disable the lost resources. Another great use case is in some dynamically changing environments where, like, in one discovery cycle, device can be there, or service or port or whatever you're monitoring. In a second, it's going to be lost, but it doesn't mean that it's lost forever. Maybe after some 2 cycles, it's going to be discovered again. So if you were using like delete the history and delete the item, if it's not discovered anymore, then you're basically losing also the history data. And right now you have a more flexibility to work this around. So ability to link the hosts discovered by LLD groups created by other LLD rules as well. Ability to automatically disable the lost resources and change the default LLD rule update interval to 1 hour. New templates and integrations. So this actually is a type of the work that doesn't stop in between of the versions. So the new templates are constantly being developed and added even in between of the major versions, like the 7.0 right now adds these templates, but in 7.0.1.5 and so on, it's well, it's basically 100% that you will see some new templates, so it's always worth to check it out. And right now we have a lot of different templates for cloud vendors like AWS, Microsoft Azure, Amazon Elastic Container Service, Oracle Cloud, Cisco, OpenStack, Fortinet, Postgres, Ansible, Mantis Bug Tracker, and a lot of more. Additional changes and improvements. The Zabbix license model has been updated to GNU FRO General Public License version 3, which stands for AGPL v3. And this might be scary, like if... well, it just might be scary. You might think like, okay, what will happen with my installation? Is Zabbix not an open source anymore and whatever? No, Zabbix remains the open source. AGPL v3 doesn't change anything in that point of view. You can still use it. You don't need to pay anything. You don't need to buy any license. Basically, the only thing that is not possible right now is that you cannot take the Zabbix as an open source product, download all the source code, do some heavy code modifications, or light, it doesn't really matter. So do the code modification and then resell the monitoring service as your own tool or service and make it closed source, which is the main thing here. Like, I'm not 100% sure about the legal stuff, but as far as I remember, you can take the Zabbix, modify the source code, sell it, but you must make the changes that you made to the Zabbix source code publicly available, which is the most important thing. So Zabbix frontend performance has received improvements by redesigning the underlying permission logic. This is amazing, and I think this deserves to be somewhere here above the lines, because permission checking a Zabbix frontend was quite a big problem basically since the beginning of the Zabbix, and at least since the beginning of the new frontend of the Zabbix, which was added in the Zabbix 3.0, especially if you have a very large environment, some unusual configuration like having 50,000 items on hosts or 50,000 triggers and hundreds of users working in the front end simultaneously. It was usually causing some problems. So right now this is fixed and all the permission checks in the Zabbix are done way faster. So if you're experiencing some of these issues, do the upgrade to the 7.0 LTS, and I'm sure you will see the big improvement. Faster recalculation of host maintenance status, new history push API method. I also already have a video about it, so check in my channel. Support of manual user input for front-end scripts. Most front-end forms are now opened in model windows, which is just pretty. Official Kafka connector is available for streaming data to Kafka broker, and you can actually configure the streaming connector to any other application. And the audit log table has been converted to the hybrid table. So whenever the audit log was improved and fixed to actually log everything that is happening with your Zabbix, it became quite a problem that the table grows pretty fast. Again, especially if you have a large environment, and it was a problem for the housekeeper to deal with it. So right now you can also seamlessly partition audit log table if you use the timescale DB. If you don't, if you have the PostgreSQL, or well, actually, if you have a PostgreSQL, I don't see any reason why you would not upgrade to the timescale DB. And guess what? I already have a video about it, so check my channel. If you have a MySQL, you can still do the partitioning with external script or the procedures. I would recommend external script, and I don't have a video about it. And the only difference is that you can additionally partition your audit log table. Added the ability to execute remote commands on a version 7.0 LTS agent that is operating in active mode, so it not necessarily has to be in a passive mode anymore. Various usability improvements for items, widgets, templates, audit log, and other Zabbix features. Scheduled reports now support multi-page report generation for the multi-page dashboard, which again is I think the feature is too big to just put it here in additional stuff. Option Zabbix server and frontend update check has been introduced via the system information section widget. So optional, sorry, not option. So right now you will see like whether your Zabbix installation is up to date or there are some new versions available for you to download and upgrade. But don't worry, upgrades will not happen automatically by any means. Auto-registration and network discovery operations now support adding and removing host tags. Extended support of macro functions. User macros are now supported in the item names and item prototype names. Improved error handling via the pre-processing. Each standard item now has a direct link from the front end to its documentation page. Improved various function behavior. JSON pad and XML pad have been added for use in the trigger expressions and calculated items. And we get a new items, NetDNS performance, and the NetDNS get, which is the end of the big features in the Zabbix 7.0 LTS. But as you've seen in the beginning of the video, the list is actually infinite long. So that's it for the overview. Hope you already trying out in your lab environments the new Zabbix 7.0 LTS and started planning the upgrade in your production environments. It's going to be a busy time for me to create all of the videos about the new features. So let me know in the comments which feature of the Zabbix 7.0 you want me to cover next. I will do my best, but keep in mind that many of the features I already have video for them. So just search in the YouTube or go directly to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you later, guys.